Okay guys, so we're now moving on into our fight camp, alright? So we have finished the first phase, we've been through this phase, we've been through our max strength phase. Okay, this has been done, we're not here anymore, we're actually looking for a fight now, so we're moving up the iceberg and we're moving more into strength speed sort of area, so we're speeding up our lifts now, okay? This one ideally is going to be anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks, okay? But you never know, because we're looking for a fight here. We've done all our base building, so we're looking for a fight here. So if we haven't got a fight booked already, it could be within 1 to 2 to 3 weeks, so it could be short notice, but ideally we're looking for 8 to 12 weeks, okay? If we do have that big fight camp, we're going to be working these interchangeably, so we're going to be doing more kind of conjugate methods. We are going to be working max strength and strength speed. We could be doing contrast training, something like that. Kind of depends about whatever you want to do and whatever you can, whatever your knowledge base is or whatever your athlete's experience is, okay? So when we're in this period, we are going to have to think about their skills training and their weight cut. So they might be on a calorie deficit, which means we're going to have to worry about some other things as well, okay? So this is what we're mainly going to be focusing on throughout this time period. We're basically going to be looking at, so I like to run contrast training through this one. It's really good because it does incorporate max strength and our speed and our strength speed. So it does mean we're kind of transitioning into that more power development phase, which is going to be when they're in their peaking phase. Okay. So condensed conjugate works really well. If you need to know more about that, then you can always go check out Phil Daru. He's got some amazing stuff on that. I've got some content as well in other videos on my YouTube. All right. Now we need to watch, as I said, we do need to watch their weight. So we do need to think about their weight. If they've got a lot to cut, we're going to have to worry about that, and their calorie deficit. This is going to affect what we can do and their recovery, and we need to think about their skills training. So it's probably going to be starting to ramp up now, maybe higher volume, higher intensity, and a lot more impact. So if they're sparring a lot more or anything like that, okay? We also need to watch residual drop-off. So this is why the contrast training works really well, because if you don't train, say, max strength for around that 4-week mark, you're going to be getting some drop-off, and we don't want that. So we do want to make sure we're working our max strength and our strength speed all together to make sure we don't get any drop-offs. Okay, so this goes for your aerobic development as well. So this is for strength and for fitness drop-offs we need to watch out for. All right. So here we're mainly focused on anaerobic development and our strength speed development, as I mentioned before. So the intervals are going to get quite a bit shorter. The only aerobic work we're really going to do here is for their active recovery. So they might be doing some LSD stuff for their active recovery, but we're not really going to program it too much. It's mainly going to be for anaerobic development. So you're looking at under a minute. Depending on their skills training, we're going to be more looking at that sort of anaerobic alactic work, so probably under 15 to 20 seconds, where we're not getting too much lactate buildup, because they're probably going to be getting that in their skills training with the high intensity stuff and the short, sharp bursts in their sparring or in their grappling or whatever they're doing. Okay, so again, that's why we need to think about what they're doing in their skills training, because if they're not getting that lactate training in their skills training, we need to program it for our conditioning as well. Okay, need to be thinking about a deload, especially if they're in a calorie deficit. They're probably going to be more prone to sickness and to injury. So we need to think about the deload before the peaking phase. Okay, so this is at the end of this phase that we're in now, before we jump into that top of the iceberg. We need to think about where we're going to put in a deload to make sure that they don't injure themselves or get sick right before the fight. Okay. Now we're starting to speed up the basic movements, as I said, so this is going to be incorporated into their movement prep, so the lateral drills, the lateral movement drills, the landing mechanics. We're probably going to add some jumping mechanics to it as well, and basically make sure they can move on to the agility work and the more power development, more ballistic work, plyometric work even, in the next phase. Okay, so as I said, we move on to jump training, ballistic movements. This is going to be with a lot of slam balls, wall balls. Jump training, just basic jump training to prepare them for the plyometrics, make sure their landing mechanics are sweet. This is going to be preparing them and kind of transitioning into that plyometric work for the peaking phase, for the top of the iceberg, all right? Yeah, so everything we do is a transition here. So it's all for power development and the agility work Obviously agility work, that's going to have a decision making component and more focusing on reaction time, which is what we want at the top. So we need to make sure they are ready for that. So that's where we definitely don't want any injuries sort of 1, 2, 3 weeks out from the fight. So we need to make sure they're ready. So that's why we make sure we run through this big transition phase and make sure they are sweet to peak, not injured, not sick, nothing like that, okay? So key parts, this is an 8 to 12 week, hopefully, part. Auto-regulation is always going to be key here. So you need to be prepared to change any program before they come into the gym, just in case, if they've had a hard sparring session or hard wrestling session beforehand. You need to make sure you're sweet and you're on top of it, so you know exactly what they can do. All right, make sure you're watching their skills training, or you know exactly what they are doing in their skills training, so you can auto-regulate and change their programming if needed. All right, hopefully you enjoyed that, guys. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that sort of jazz below. Comment with any questions, and yeah, hopefully you'll stick around for the next session. Bye.